All right, so today we are going to be diving deep into AI image generation.
Okay.
Specifically, how it's getting faster and how it's becoming more controllable.
Right.
We have this research paper called SNOOPI, Supercharged One-Step Diffusion Distillation with Proper Guidance.
Yeah.
That we're going to break down.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
It is, but it's really cool once you start to understand it.
It's like, imagine being able to create high-quality images from just descriptions really fast.
Yes, and even being able to tell the AI what you don't want to see in the picture.
Oh, wow.
Which is really, really cool.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Why is speed and control such a big deal right now in AI image generation?
Well, a lot of the models that are out there right now use these things called multi-step diffusion models.
Okay.
And you can think of it like an artist slowly adding details to a sketch over time.
Okay.
And each step makes the image a little more clear, but it takes time.
Oh, so it's like digital paint drawing.
Exactly. And so that's where SNOOPI comes in.
Right.
And it's like, how can we make that process
right.
super fast?
Okay, got it.
By reducing the number of steps.
So how does SNOOPI do that?
So SNOOPI relies on these two really innovative techniques called PGSB and NASA.
Okay.
And PGSB stands for Proper Guidance Swift Brush. And it's really all about making the AI model learn more efficiently.
Okay. I like efficiency. I like things to be fast.
Yes.
But how does that work?
So think about it this way.
Okay.
Like a student with a really strict teacher.
Okay.
Who only accepts one right answer.
Right.
That student is probably going to get frustrated pretty easily.
Totally.
And probably not going to learn very fast.
Right.
PGSB is like having a more flexible teacher that encourages the AI to explore a range of good solutions.
I see.
And that helps the model learn much faster, and it makes it more adaptable.
Yeah.
Kind of like a teacher adjusting their style for different students.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So PGSB is like this secret sauce.
Yeah, you can think of it like that.
For speed, at least.
Yes.
Okay, what about NASA? You said that's the control thing.
Right.
What's that all about?
NASA stands for negative away, steer attention.
Okay.
And it's about filtering the things you don't want to see.
Wow.
In the image.
So I could say, I don't want to see a cat in this picture.
Exactly.
And then it just wouldn't generate a cat.
Yeah. And it does that by subtly adjusting how the AI is focusing on different features in the image.
So it's like the AI is an art director being like, no, we're not doing that.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
So for example, you're generating an image of a person.
Right.
And you want to make sure that the AI doesn't depict them as like male or female.
Oh.
You can tell the AI don't make them male.
Okay.
And NASA will subtly guide the model to avoid those features.
So it's super specific.
Yeah.
I can really control the little things.
Exactly.
So haven't there been other attempts to do this whole negative prompt thing?
You're right. There's been other methods for controlling what's in the image.
Right.
But they haven't been very effective when it comes to these one-step models.
Okay.
Like SNOOPI.
Got it.
And some of them require those multiple steps that we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And others just don't have as much of an impact on the final image.
So NASA is built specifically for speed.
Yeah, NASA was designed specifically for these one-step models.
Got it.
To work within that streamlined generation process.
Okay, so it actually works.
Yes.
What are the results?
Yeah, so to test this, they put SNOOPI through a battery of tests.
Okay.
And the results are pretty amazing.
Okay.
One of the key metrics that they use to assess the quality of these images is called the HPSV2 score.
Okay.
And this score basically measures how much humans prefer images that are created by one method versus another.
It's like a popularity contest.
Exactly. It's like a popularity contest for AI-generated images.
Okay.
And SNOOPI scored a whopping 31.08.
Wow.
Which is actually a new record for one-step image generation.
Okay, so it beat all the other ones.
It did.
So what that means is that people thought that the SNOOPI images looked better.
Yeah. People consistently found the SNOOPI-generated images to be more appealing.
Wow.
More realistic than the other methods.
So that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong indicator of its potential.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, a new record. That's impressive.
It is.
Were there any other metrics that they looked at?
Yeah, they also use something called CLIP scores, which check how well an image actually matches the text description.
Okay.
It's kind of like a test to see if the AI understands.
Did it do its homework?
Exactly.
Okay.
Did it understand the assignment?
Right.
And can it translate those words into an image that makes sense?
Got it.
And so PII scored really high on that as well.
Okay, so it's not just a pretty picture.
No.
It actually understands.
It understands what you're asking for.
That's great.
It is.
Okay, so SNOPI is fast.
Yes.
It's controllable. It creates good quality images.
Yes.
What's not to love?
I know. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, so before we get too lost in the weeds here,
Yeah.
let's step back and talk about the bigger picture.
Yeah? That sounds good.
What does this mean for people like me who are just using this?
Right. It really is about opening up all these possibilities,
Yeah.
Like, imagine small businesses that can create really professional marketing material.
Oh, yeah.
Without needing to hire designers.
Right.
Or, artists that are able to make these amazing visuals for their portfolio, all thanks to AI.
Yeah, so it's kind of like AI is making this stuff accessible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just individuals.
Right.
Like, think about large companies like a video game company that needs to make new characters.
Oh, right.
And they can do that so fast now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Or marketing teams that need to generate tons of different versions of an ad.
Right.
SNOPI and other advancements like this could really speed up those workflows.
Yeah.
And boost productivity.
Okay, so we're talking about changing how we work and create.
Right.
So I want to go back to PGSB.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit before, but how does it work?
So one of the things about PGSB is that it uses this technique called classifier-free guidance.
Okay.
Or CFG. And this has been around for a while.
Okay.
But it hasn't worked well for these one-step models.
Oh, so it's like they tried to stick it in there and it just didn't really work.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where the proper guidance part of PGSB comes in.
Okay.
It's all about being more adaptable.
Right.
So instead of having just one setting for this guidance, it's more flexible.
Okay.
Think about like an orchestra conductor.
Yeah.
A good conductor will give guidance, but also allow for individual expression.
Right. They don't totally control every single thing.
Exactly.
Right.
And so PGSB is kind of like that conductor guiding the AI, but also letting it explore a little bit.
Okay. So what's the benefit of that?
It helps the AI avoid getting stuck, making the same image over and over.
Okay.
And encourages it to explore different solutions. And that leads to more diverse and creative images.
So it's more creative.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's PGSB.
Yeah.
For you.
Okay, now NASA,
right.
You said it can control what we don't want to see in an image.
Right.
How does that work?
So in order to understand NASA, you have to know a little bit about how these AI models process information.
Okay.
And they use these things called attention mechanisms.
Okay.
Which allows them to kind of focus on the most relevant parts of the input.
So when I'm reading something, I'm like, oh, that's the important part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're skimming a document, you kind of pick out the key phrases.
Right. Okay.
And that's kind of what these attention mechanisms are doing.
So it's like the AI is learning how to read?
Yeah, you could think about it like that.
And so NASA is using these attention mechanisms to kind of control what's in the image.
Okay.
So it's processing the positive and negative prompts separately.
Right.
And it creates two different maps.
Okay.
One map that highlights what you want to see and one map that highlights what you don't want to see.
Okay.
And then what it does is it actually subtracts the negative map from the positive map.
What?
And so what you're left with is this image that aligns with your positive prompt. But avoids all the things that you said you didn't want in the image.
So it's I have a picture and I have a filter to take out
exactly
the red eye or whatever.
You can think about it like that.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's happening inside the AI's mind as it's creating the image.
So there are other ways to do this, though, you said.
Right. There have been other attempts to use these negative prompts.
Right.
But they're not as precise.
Okay.
A lot of times what they'll do is just subtract the negative text from the positive text. But that can lead to some weird results.
So it's less control.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
NASA is working within the AI's attention mechanism.
Okay.
So it has this really fine-grained control.
It's like a scalpel instead of a...
Exactly.
Like a hammer.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the research, they talked about all these different ways to test how good SNOPI is.
Yes.
We talked about the HPSV2 score.
Yes.
That was the one where it got the new record.
Right.
But what about the other scores?
Yeah, so it's important to make sure that they're not just relying on human preference.
Right.
So they used a bunch of these objective measures as well.
Okay.
And one of those was the CLIP score.
Okay.
And this basically checks how well the image matches the description that you gave it.
So it's like, is it following the instructions?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like you were saying, is it doing its homework?
Right.
Can it translate those words into an image?
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And SNOPI scored really high on that test.
Well, that's good.
Which means that it's really good at understanding and following those descriptions.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about like making sure that the images are all different?
Yeah, so that's where the precision and recall scores come in.
Okay.
So precision measures how many of the images that it generated are actually relevant to the text that you gave it.
So it's like not going off and doing its own thing.
Exactly.
It's staying focused.
Yeah, it's staying on task.
Okay.
So SNOPI got really high precision scores.
Okay.
Which means it's very good at sticking to the script.
That's what we want.
It is.
Okay, and then what about the recall score?
So recall measures how many of the possible relevant images SNOPI is able to generate.
So it's like, how creative is it?
Exactly.
Fine.
Can it explore different styles and interpretations?
Yeah.
And SNOPI scored really high on that as well.
Oh, awesome.
Which means it can generate a wide variety of images for a given prompt.
Okay, so it's versatile.
It is. Cool.
Okay, so SNOPI is fast.
Yes.
It's controllable. It's high quality.
Yes.
It's diverse.
It is.
It seems like it does it all.
I know. It's really amazing.
But like with AI becoming so powerful, what does that mean for like human creativity?
That's a question a lot of people are asking.
Yeah.
And it's an important one.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that these tools,
yeah,
powerful as they are still just tools.
Okay.
They're extensions of our creativity.
Right.
Not replacements.
So it's not like AI versus humans. It's more like AI and humans working together.
Right. It's all about collaboration.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure that like these AI tools are used ethically?
Right.
Especially as they become more powerful.
That is a crucial conversation.
Yeah.
As with any new technology.
Yeah.
There are potential downsides.
Right.
And we need to be aware of those and figure out guidelines.
Right.
To make sure that it's used for good.
Okay, so it's not just about how cool it is.
Right.
It's also about thinking about the impact.
Yeah, thinking about the why, the how, all those things.
Okay.
It's important to be thoughtful about these things.
Okay.
And making sure that it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
Not just a select few.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap up.
That's good.
And share some final thoughts.
Okay.
So we've talked about, all this cool stuff SNOPI can do.
Yeah.
But we keep mentioning this research paper.
Right.
And I know that some of our listeners like to really get into the details.
Yes, they like to get into the weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the paper a little bit?
Yeah, so the paper's structured like a lot of research papers in this field. Okay. It starts with kind of a summary of the key findings.
Okay.
What are the main contributions?
So like, what's the big deal about this?
And then it goes into some background, On AI image generation, what are the challenges?
Okay.
That SNOPI is designed to solve.
Right.
And then it talks about some of the previous work that's been done in this area and kind of how SNOPI builds on that.
Yeah. So it's giving us the history.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that we're all on the same page.
Right.
And then it has a pretty good explanation of these diffusion models.
Okay.
Which is the kind of technology that SNOPI is built on.
So it's like AI image generation 101.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then it gets into the really cool stuff.
Okay, the good part.
Like deep dives into PGSB and NASA.
Right.
And it explains like, how they work.
Yeah.
Why they work.
Yeah.
It's got some technical diagrams.
So it's pretty in-depth.
It is.
But it's good for people who want to like really understand.
Exactly.
Okay, and then of course it's got the results.
Right.
All the different tests.
Yes, all the different tests, all the metrics, HPSV2,
right.
CLIP scores, precision recall, and like we were talking about, SNOPI did really well.
Yeah, it beat the other ones.
You beat the other ones.
Cool. And then it talks about, what this could mean for different fields and future research.
Exactly.
So it's a pretty cool paper.
It is, if you're interested in this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So if people want to check it out, where can they find it?
I'll put a link to the paper in the show notes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about all this stuff.
We have.
But like, the question that keeps coming up for me is like, with AI becoming so powerful,
right?
What does that mean for like human creativity and expression?
Yeah, that's a really great question.
Yeah.
And I think we're at this really interesting point, where technology and art are kind of coming together.
Yeah.
And people are trying to figure out what that means.
Right. Like, is AI going to replace artists.
Right. Are we all going to be out of a job?
Yeah. Are we going to have robot overlords?
I know. It's a scary thought. But, I think it's kind of like when photography first came out.
Oh, yeah.
And people thought that that was the end of painting.
Right.
But it wasn't.
Right. It just kind of became something different.
It led to new art movements, new styles.
Totally.
And I think we're going to see a similar thing with AI image generation.
Okay.
It's not about replacing humans.
Right.
It's about giving us new tools to augment our creativity.
So it's like AI is our creative buddy.
Exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So it's not just about, what AI can do by itself.
Right.
It's about what we can do together.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
As these tools get more powerful,
yeah,
I think we're going to see some really amazing things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really interesting conversation.
It has.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your expertise.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you learned something new.
Yes.
And that you're feeling inspired.
Definitely.
To go out and create something. Yeah. So until next time.
See you next time.
Keep those imaginations firing.
Yes.
And never stop exploring.
Never stop exploring.